you.
Okay. I'd like to call the continuation of the ad hoc committee in regards to building permits. In attendance, we have committee members, myself, Charlie Trombetta, the chairperson, Shane Nagerchef, and Ben Chinese. Also, we have Leo Knoll, building department, and from the David St. Hilaire from finance, John Harry, and Robin Edwards from the Corporation Council. Ex officio is Colleen, Stanley, and Donnie Taylor. Anyone else down there, Miss? Okay. This again is a continuation from the last meeting in regards to possibility of increasing the building permits. And what we did is we requested the continuation so that Leo can take a look at surrounding towns. Bobby Arconti and Colleen, who was ex officio last meeting, had some questions about what other towns in the area are charging as far as building permits. So I think I'm just going to turn this meeting over to Leo so he can explain what he found out. Leo?
Thank you. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Colleen and Bob Arcani. And if you remember at the last meeting, Bob was not interested in the comparisons I gave you with the other major cities in the state. And so I went ahead and I made the calls, did the examples, and was taken back with some of the information I received. 3 of the towns, they don't have a sheet. They strictly go by the estimated value given to them. And I asked them, I said, well, you don't have anything to show the applicant as to where you're coming from if you disagree with their estimate. They said no. And now that in itself is a problem for us. With the volume we do, we have many people that ask questions, and we want to be able to explain to them where we're coming from. So anyway, we went with the estimated amount that we figured out for ours, and it was based on a 3,500 square foot house, which I said at the last meeting, 3,500 is a big house. A lot of people are not building those big houses anymore. But just to give an idea of what the difference in fees were, I ran the numbers on a 3,500 foot home, a 24 by 24 foot garage, which for a large house is small, but it's a 2-car, and then a 12 by 12 deck. So everybody at the last meeting assumed that Richfield would have the highest fees. When I took the example and went through each one of them, and I did make calls to make sure that we were, applying this correctly with certain people, Reading came in at an estimated value of $461,360, and what they get is $30 for the first 1,000, and then $10 for each additional. And they add 15 on for the CO. We're going to forget the CO for now, but we went ahead and we did the fee. We came out with $4,640 for the fee, and they were the highest in the area. Then we took New Milford, and I should say at the time we went through them and then we arranged them as to the value of their fee for the same house. So New Milford, we did the same thing, and we came out at an estimated value at $396,755. They also 30 for the first 1,000, $1,150 for each additional, and their fee came in at $4,584. And if you look at the CO, like I said, they're all different. None of them are the same, but they got $5 for the CO. New Fairfield, we went ahead and we used the fee, and we applied. It was pretty simple. We applied to $30 because they were consistent, and they got $12 for each additional, and their fee came out at $4,512. Now, Danbury. Danbury, we used $100, which is what we were after, and if the table you look at it, I think it was 101, but we used $100. And we came in at an estimated value of $376,640. we get $22 for the first 1,000. Everybody else is getting 30. So one of the things I'm asking for is at least $30 for the first 1,000. Then we get 11 for each additional. So our fee came in at $4,158, and presently we get $28 for the CO. Then Richfield was number 5, and their evaluation was $464,140. They get $50 for the first 1,000 and 8 for each additional. Their fee came in at $3,762, and they include the CO. They're the only ones, I believe, that included it. Newtown, we had to use the estimate because they have no table. So I'm surprised at Newtown, but anyway, the fee using our estimate was $377,000. We applied the 30 for the first and 10 for each additional, because that's what their table is. And it came in at $3,790, and they get $25 for a CO. Brookfield, same thing. They asked when we're finished with the study if we could forward it, both, I should say both, Newtown, Fairfield, and Brookfield said that they would entertain looking at these fees because they think theirs should be raised. We went ahead and we did the same thing with Brookfield, and we came in at $3,790 plus $20 for the CO. Now Bethel, using the same figures, Bethel has a $60 a square foot estimate. They came in at $230,008. They used 25 for the first 1,000, 8 for each additional, and their fee would have been $1,865 plus a $20 CO. Now, I tried to explain before that we have an awful lot to offer here in Danbury when you look at the utilities we have, the infrastructure, and what our mission was. In talking with David, I'm glad he's here tonight, because Dave feels that people should be paying as they go. It shouldn't be up to the taxpayer to be picking up the difference. If you're going to build in Danbury, you should be somewhere near paying your fair share and not having somebody else pick up the balance for our lost time. He would like to see us somewhere near paying for our time. So the idea was to try to do something in order to show that we're at least meeting the cost of an hourly rate. Is that fair to say?
If I may.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, you know, the taxpayers pay for a certain fixed cost of the departments, and then when there are additional needs by other people that may come in and ask for the services of the building inspector or any other departments, then those parts you want to charge out appropriately. It's like asking the non-residents to pay a higher rate for the a rec pass than you would for the residents. Nobody questions that. You know, if you're going to have, if Nick is charging somebody outside the town to pay something more for a membership than for the residents, that's because there's a certain implied fixed cost. Then those people, you know, the residents pay that fixed cost, and those non-residents, they have not incurred that same cost, so they're going to pay a little bit more. Well, when people come in and have a need for additional services for the building inspector, they should incur those additional costs that for the work that additional work that the building inspector is going to have to do. And so that's why I know Leo and his department has gone out and tried to do the best job that they can to price this out and, you know, try to recover the cost that they've incurred for that additional work. And it's really not about raising revenue. I know that seems to stick in people's minds a little bit, but it's really about cost recovery so that you can continue to provide additional services to the remainder of the public. It's a really, and whether it's about these fees or any other fees, it's about cost recovery. And it really protects the rest of the public. Not about sticking it to those people that are trying to come in to utilize these services. All you're trying to do is charge a fair rate for that additional service that's being provided. That's all you're trying to do here.
Thanks, Steve. Committee members?
So, through the chair, may I can open it up. So, I mean, I understand the cost recovery, and I agree with that. But what we're trying to really do here is to come up with a formula, so that based on the number of hours that you spend, that there's a cost per hour to go against your, with the time you spend, is what we're trying to do.
Right.
So the formula that you did in the past is you basically use a good faith formula, is I had to come and tell you what the fair value of my costs are going to be, and you apply that to your formula of $30. But now it's going to be a fixed amount based on the square footage. Going forward, it's not going to be based on costs that I incur, it's going to be based on the square footage of the house I'm building, or the deck I'm building, or a shed I'm putting up. It's going to be a flat fee for that price.
There's a
If
little
I-
clarification, go ahead.
If I may, I think, occasionally you have to revise the methodology that you utilize, to apply certain fees. And I think as we look at different departments, we're asking the question, are we, applying the right methodology for charging these fees? And in some cases, or in many cases, it's just a matter of tweaking the fee. In other cases, we have to change the methodology. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing here. And, and I'll let Leo expand on that, the methodology portion of it, but, and I tell you, and as we look across, and we are looking at pretty much everything, we're trying to ensure that we can still provide the core services. And in some cases, we have to not only change fees, and we have to also change methodologies to ensure that the charges are fair. As you noticed, what was it, the laundromat?
Yes.
Well, after looking at that a little closer, the fees that were being proposed were clearly not a fair fee, and they were rejected by the council, and that was an appropriate move, because it did not match the amount of effort that was going to be put in to measure the amount of, the time for that after further review. So I think there's a lot more review that's going in to set these fees, and the methodologies that's going to be used to set these fees as we go for cost recovery. So.
In answer to your question, many people come in and they'll go ahead and they'll give us a unreasonably low price. And we listen to, think about this. You're looking at the best possible situation, and I'm looking at everything overall. Person comes in and we'll say, for the sake of argument, I'm telling you that we're looking at $100 a square foot. One of the neighboring towns is still using $60, and yet $60 we can pay for material. When we go ahead, we're using a table. The purpose of the International Code Council's code book is to try to use the same code, so there is no difference right across North America, Canada included, the U.S. territories. Eventually they want to go everywhere with it. But this gives you an idea of what we're actually looking at to see if you're in the ballpark. And many times, if somebody's honest, they're going to be higher. We're on the low side. But something which I explained to Colleen yesterday, and it's really tough to go ahead and get everybody to understand something that they're not familiar with as far as construction, because the table, if you take a look at it, everything that's on the left are the different use groups. All the numbers across the top are the different types of construction. So to give you a bit of an understanding, if we went ahead and we were looking at 1 and 2 family, which is R3, on the left hand toward the bottom, and it says 1 and 2 family, and you follow that all the way over to the right where it says 5B, GB, that is your normal 2x4 stick frame construction. Does anybody need help understanding? You know, I don't want to confuse anybody, but I'm trying to get you to zoom in on that part of the table.
Can you go over I'm sorry, what the type of construction, each one of those?
I'm going to.
Okay.
I want to start with the easiest one that
Okay.
everybody's familiar with. So when you go ahead and you take a look at that, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth from the bottom on the right. That comes in at $101.95 a square foot. That would be your construction cost of a stick frame, single family house. Now, as you're coming across from right to left, where it says 5A, VA at the top, that's when we put additional fire protection into the same building. And it's a matter of sheetrock going up to do further protection, whether it be for draft stopping, fire protection of columns, beams, girders, and that bumps it up to 108.33. Then when we get into type 4 construction, that's heavy timber. If you think of Party Depot was a heavy timber building on one side, and then it's type 2 on the other. We deal with a lot of buildings that are mixed construction type. So as you look at it now, you jump up another $10. Then you go to type 3B and type 3A. Those are masonry buildings. The difference is the 3B is a straight masonry building, and 3A is a masonry building that has additional fire protection in it. Once again, you're protecting it, usually what it is ceilings, girders, beams, everything that's going to ensure that the building is going to stand longer and allow the fire department to get there and put the fire out. Now, when you get into type 2B and 2A, it's the same thing. Those are your steel buildings. Those you'll see mostly for storage, some office buildings, but once again, 2B would be the straight construction, 2A, you're putting fire resistance ratings in it. When you get to 1B, just to give you an idea of the difference, 1B is what the hospital is constructed of. So as you're going up higher, or you're going out and putting more square footage per floor, that's when you get into the rated construction and the higher types of construction. And that's mostly concrete and case steel. 1A is the top. 1A and 1B, usually they allow you to go to unlimited height and unlimited area. But each one, as you're going across from right to left, you can see the increase per square foot. And there's a reason for it, because that building has so much more expensive materials and construction involved. So what I'm trying to point out, that's only in R3 single family. When we get into the assembly uses, mercantile, high hazard, we're dealing a lot of times with mixed use, where we'll have a multitude of uses in the building. When we're figuring the actual construction cost, we have to take all this into consideration. So it's not a matter of sometimes, and I'm going to say in all honesty, the person will give you a figure, because you've got to remember, a lot of times they haven't even got estimates yet. So when we go ahead and we explain to them what ballpark they should be in, and then when they get their actual estimates, usually we're a little bit lower, but the bottom line is we're in the ballpark. So what we're doing is we're applying, once we get the application, we're looking at the type of construction, we're looking at the use group, and then we start to apply the formulas. What we were looking for was to try to get the council to adopt the square footage table, and you don't even have to. I'm going to use it anyway, because what I'm telling you is this is for our use And it's for every municipality that's under the international the ICC building codes. So when we go ahead and once we've come to the estimate and we're in agreement, now we have to come to the fee. So when I went ahead and I looked at the cities, Danbury's not even half of what the cities are getting for most of them. Stanford, they have a mayor who I guess is tried to hold those costs down to the point where they're pretty low. They were higher, I thought, in the past. But most of the cities are coming across with $25, $27 across the board. We're at 11. We're right now 22 for the first 1,000, 11 for each additional for residential, for commercial. We're looking at 18 across the board, and we're telling you they're, a bunch of $7 a thousand higher than we are. Now, we know we're not trying to be the highest. As David said, we're just trying to go ahead and be able to show that we're carrying the cost for the department and then some, because we have so many, things that crop up throughout the year. Bottom line here is that Colleen and Bob, when we were talking yesterday, I mentioned to them a couple of the things that normally you wouldn't think of. We have a system now where the applications come in to the permit counter, they're distributed to everybody. We go ahead, and the idea is they want a simultaneous review to try to go ahead and speed things up, if you will. In doing so, we get them, we do the review, and some of the larger jobs, for reasons that they had for not going forward, we did the review, and they couldn't go forward. We didn't collect a dime, and one of the examples I gave them is that we arranged for meetings at the state. We had meetings on site, we had meetings in the office. I was talking to Jim Johnson today, and he thought that we put in at least 25 hours just on the meetings. And we did everything we could to expedite with the ideas. I don't think anybody realizes how we try to get the business to come in. They want service. You're looking at the fee, and what they want is everything to be done as quickly as possible. We instituted a program at their request. They know, we explained to them, we can't have them jumping to the front when we have people before them, but they were willing to pay for after-hour reviews, and we arranged to do that. And we're trying to keep everybody happy. They're happy because everything's getting done quicker, and they pay their own way. But those people that don't, they're the ones that this is going to really apply to. And when we go ahead and we try to come up with a stopgap measure, what we're looking for is we want a 20% review fee up front. And right away you say 20%, big number. The 20% is to guarantee that when we do the review, if they back out, we're going to get paid for the work we did. But if they go forward, the 20% is wrapped into the construction fee anyway. It's nobody's getting hurt here. Our problem is we want to be able to recover because, as I mentioned before, we had a lot of jobs that were not picked up. We looked at the smaller jobs so that we could go ahead and we could expand on it because we're doing simultaneous reviews. One of the problems we had was the health department's B100. The B100, when the guy wants to go ahead and put an addition on his house, the existing house, they want to know if you're on septic, where are you going to put the septic if your system fails? So they would go ahead, request a test that most people are not aware of because they're trying to save money and they're trying to do things on their own, and they're not familiar with all the things that go into constructing a residence. So when they went ahead and they found out the cost of the B100, requiring a backhoe to go out, deep holes, possibly perk holes, bottom line, some people stopped. Right there, didn't tell us, they just stopped. We went ahead and reviewed it, we never recovered a dime for the work that was done. Well, after a while, they started to stack up. The point that I was trying to make, there's many examples we can give you. All we want to do is, for our review fee, We would like to have that passed so that we can recover fees for the work that we've done. We feel that if you're coming in and you have a project in mind, you should have done the homework ahead of time. You should have an idea what the cost is going to be, because basically, we're still doing the work, and if we don't get paid for it, then I guess the taxpayers are picking that tab up. And that's what we're trying to prevent. That's only one thing. We talked about trying to have a decent fee that would cover our expenses. We've done it for overtime requests for after hours for inspections. A lot of people aren't aware that the city provides a service. Many people are aware, but I'm always amazed at the ones that aren't. If they need an inspection, middle of the night, early in the morning, because like the mall, they don't want to close their doors. So they have, when you're at home, they have people, when they do a project, many times they're working at night, through the night, they do what they think that they can handle. We have an inspector out there so that we can make sure that they can open their doors in the morning. They're paying for that service. Now, when we get back to our regular duties, what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with a fee that is going to cover the amount of hours going into it. And it's reason, like we checked with some of the other cities, and they get additional fees for re-reviews. Some will give you the first re-review free. Danbury, we just keep doing them. And we're not looking to pick up something for the re-review. We're just trying to point out to you that some people, we can, instead of doing the initial review, having some corrections, and you come in a second time, unfortunately, we have some people where we can show you the list, and they'll come in and they'll correct one or two things, or they may not correct any. And then they act shocked when they find out that we actually do the reviews, and you're going to have to still make the corrections. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give a realistic fee. We're hoping that you're going to look at it that way. You're going to understand where we're coming from with the table. You're going to go ahead and, if you want, I did have my board, I still have it downstairs. I was going to come up and show it to you, but I thought by giving you the actual paperwork with the example on it, you would understand this is only for residential. We're asking, I guess, after talking to Bob and Colleen, I think what we're hoping to do is get $30 for the first 1,000, and if you want to stay at 11 or let us go to 12 for the additional 1,000, you know, we're trying to be realistic. Colleen and Bob expressed that they really don't want to hurt anybody in these economic times, but we're trying to point out that we have had what we felt were low fees for quite some time. They didn't really make an impact. People come to Danbury with the idea of building, why, Dave? Because we have the utilities, because we have the infrastructure in place, because we go ahead and we take taxpayers' money and we put a water tower or a tank up to improve all the pressure that we never had on the west side. We go ahead, we had the same problem over on Navy, we did the same thing. Well, these people know that. And when they come in, that's in place. So when we look at what we feel is an impact fee, all they're doing is, it's a trickle-down effect. They're going to pay for what was done. Anything that we made, you got to remember, all our fees go in the general fund. If we weren't to look at this, you know, the way we're trying to get our fees a little more realistic, we don't get anything additional out of it. We're just trying to make sure that when Dave and I sit down to that budget and we can show realistically what we brought in, he realizes that, I mean, we've done everything we could to try to make this, once again, realistic. Another thing that you should also, you know, it's not a matter of fees, but something to think of. When we go ahead and we do the budget, Dave is looking at the fees, and we try, our job is to try to get him to be aware of all the services we provide. But somebody has to realize that we've had this conversation where we go ahead and we have after-hour call-outs. We respond, And there is no fee to those people. And the reason there is no fee, like I explained today, we got called out for sprinkler breaks. And we had this conversation because the fire department was called out. We had 4 men on the apparatus, and then I was called out. Because when I get called, they want to know if they can stay open. What's it going to take so that they don't have to shut their doors? They have how many people working there? So my response was, well, that's what you're paying taxes for. We go out, we want to make sure that we can get you operational. We've had this so many times when I look back on it, it's the same thing. There's people that unfortunately can't go back in. Many of the times with the residences, we're in a position where we have to close apartments, whether it be sprinkler breaks, fires, cases where we have concerns over the gas odors. But what I'm trying to tell you is those things, we don't have a separate column showing you the hours and what it would have cost. We just do it. We do have the number of inspections that are done though. I'm trying to tell you there's a lot of services that are provided to our taxpayers and there's no cost. The number of people that call in or visit daily to ask questions about what would be required to do something, that's handled every day, and we realize that's part of doing business. We're only looking at those people that are going to do something and that we feel that, we have an obligation to make sure that the people that are performing or doing projects are carrying their fair share.
Thank you. Questions?
Just a question here. The table, the square foot comparison chart, now this is from 2006 numbers. If we adopt this chart, we're not adopting the numbers, we're just adopting
The chart.
the use of the
Yeah,
chart.
because what they'll do is periodically
Update
they'll
it.
upgrade it, and we get this bi-monthly, and it's another of our subscriptions thing. So when we go ahead and we get that chart, if they bump it up 50 cents or they bump it up $1, that's, like I said, the price of doing business. All we're doing is we're using it to see if their estimate is within the ballpark. That's what it's really for. So we're trying to make sure, like now, the example we used was $100, but one of the neighboring communities is using $60. Doesn't take long, look at the examples, what the difference is. He's about 50% of what he should be.
It's like an index. I mean, basically,
Yeah.
everybody will know that's.
But what this will do, this will take the guesswork about coming to you. So when I come to you with a 3,500 square foot, I would use this chart to come up with my value, and therefore we would have to argue what the true value is, because it's based on this chart. So this will prevent me from underestimating my numbers, because that could be happening in the past where I say it's worth 100,000, you say it's worth 200,000 for the chart, and then we're arguing back and forth to come up with a number that we both can agree, which takes more of your time.
No surprises.
No, but this takes the surprise out of the building.
I was I did put another schedule together, and I am going to use it to try to reason with some people, because that doesn't address dormers. That doesn't address fireplaces. There's a lot of things. But I want you to understand this. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you live in a 3,000-foot house, and your wife has made the decision that she is not moving. Her grandchildren are here, she's staying here. So, because you're living in the same house, she informs you that you're going to be putting a new kitchen in. Okay? Now, anybody that has ever been involved with kitchens knows you have a low and you have a high. Well, I'm here to tell you that we don't get into that. We go by the square footage. We don't charge you for having the Cadillac. The building code is the minimum. Your bathroom. When I say kitchens, I mean, we have people here that do 50,000, and actually people that'll hit 100 grand just for a kitchen. We're going by square footage. It does not compute the way you think. They get that break. Now get into the bathroom. We deal with bathrooms. Person's doing a half bath. I checked every one of these cities, And they've got so many different ways of doing this. Realistically, if you're doing a full bath, minimum should be $9 grand. If you're doing a half bath, 25 to 3,600. The way we're doing it, we're not gouging every dollar out of a job. We're trying to go ahead and have a realistic figure so that, and these people that put the table together, like I said, the International Code Council is nationwide. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. So I'm just trying to make sure you realize the guy that puts an Elger fixture in a bathroom compared to a Kohler or a Toyo, and we're talking a hell of a difference between, let's say, $100 or less, $89 special versus $350. That's just the fixture. So, like I said, by going with the square footage, that's not taking into it. You're going ahead and you're coming up with a realistic figure that everybody can live with. You're not out there with a microscope trying to get every penny out of the job. I mean, I would like to have a little credit for people to realize that all we're trying to do is get a realistic fee so that at the end of the year we can show that we've earned.
Well, even the man that puts in a bathroom that may be worth, whatever, or a kitchen worth $100,000, he is getting a break, but I want to make reference to even the person that is not putting in that $100,000 or maybe putting in a $12,000 kitchen isn't getting overcharged because we're using the lowest possible rate. So to me, that's fair.
Yeah, through the chair, actually, well, one question I have, and I apologize if you may have answered this in the previous meeting, but in this area, who's using this sheet right now, or something like this, or this
New
table?
Melford, New Fairfield, Newtown. Let's see, New Melford, we had a conversation on it, and I think they even stated in their literature. I would say right now, probably everybody with the exception of, I'm not sure about Bethel.
Right. And you said you're already using this?
We've always used it.
You've always used it?
Yes.
Okay. So this, if we were to make a formal motion to adopt this, I mean, it's already being used anyway. It's more of a formality. The other question I had through the chair, based on this, the 3,500 square foot comparison, what would be the dollar figure for Danbury with your proposed fee increase?
It would be $8 for the first one higher.
Okay, so it'd be 30,
We're at 22.
so it'd be 30
And
and
11.
then just 11 for the
And
rest.
I want to make sure, I had briefly talked to Les Pinter and Robin, because I felt that, this is a lot to cover, and I didn't think it would happen in one or two ad hocs. And then I thought that, everybody would have their ideas, and I'm sure along the way that we would be agreeable with them if they came up with something that we thought that we could easily live with and everybody was happy, that we would make a change. And then, at the last meeting, the ad hoc committee would tell us they were happy with it, and then we could go forward. But I'm expecting changes. I mean, I was told to go ahead and make a comparison with the cities. I did it, and the first meeting was obvious that certain people weren't happy with it. So then you asked me to do it with the surrounding municipalities, and I did it, and you have it. And I'm telling you the way I think this should work, and if you have additional questions or queries, I'll go ahead and, do whatever it takes, and if I have to, we'll come back a third time, whatever it takes.
Leo, I'm in insurance. We use a Beck estimating system. Is that different, completely different than Beck?
I'm not familiar with your system. I'll just tell you this. I'm usually the person that handles the insurance investigations.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is when we go out, fire job, we go out, we look at it, we do an analysis on it. One of the things that usually is the problem is the roof. because depending on the year or the lack of a ladder, we'll tell them, you know, we would like to, at a later date, look at the roof, because plywood may delaminate, shingles may go ahead and blister, you know where I'm going. Usually we'll look at it and we'll tell you, you know, what you have to do to salvage an area in the building. If not, you're gonna be replacing rafters or floor joists. We'll go by room and we'll break it down as to the damage that was done and what we see as replacement costs. We don't get into costs, I should say.
Yeah, right. No.
Let's say replacing a window, or, you know, if it's something they can work out. Utilities, whether they can be, remain and be megged out like the electrical, or if they have to be replaced. It's up to, we don't get into the prices on that. And then when they're ready to do the work, then you come in, you see us, and we, like we mentioned before, we're hopeful that we get a realistic estimate.
Thank you. Colleen, any question?
Thank you, Mr. Trombetta. Well, I'm looking at the sheet that you gave us for the residential permit fee comparison. And is this, I'm sorry, but is this the new or the old?
That's the old.
This is the old?
Yep.
So you want to go up from $22 to $30?
I would like to go to 30. The difference, as I just stated, was, think about it, Colleen, 22 for the first, and we're gonna go to 30 for the first.
It's $8.
So you give me $8 more.
Times.
No.
No. That's just for the first 1,000.
Okay.
For the first.
And then
Just $8?
That's, so what I said,
And then the $11, you want to keep?
I would like to go to 12, is what I said.
Okay.
But I don't want to keep throwing paperwork out, and then you just keep knocking down paperwork. I was asked to do an example, and I did. And I'm telling you, the majority of them, and if you look at the examples, they're getting $30 for the first 1,000.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, but then I noticed like in Reading, it was, 3,500 square feet times 125 per square foot. And in Milford was 101.95 per square foot.
If they're
Danbury's
higher than,
100
if
per
they're
square
higher than
foot.
us, I can't go with a lower one, right?
No, but,
That's-
no, I just don't understand why you didn't use $100 per square foot for each one of these.
Because they have their own table that was approved, and they're approved for 125, and we are less.
Oh, they have their own table in Reading?
Yes, and if you look at Bethel was using 60. That, I put it right in there.
Yeah, mhm.
And I want to
I
show
just
you
wanna make
why
sure I
those differences occurred.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, that's the comparison you would
Yeah.
look your store.
That's what I thought you would ask of me.
mhm. Oh, no, I think Bobby wanted to know what the fees were, how much they charge for the first 1,000.
I put them in there.
Right, yeah, no, I
Yep.
see that,
Yep.
I see that. So this is what it is now, and you want to raise it to 30, which would leave us,
$1 per thousand.
so Bridgefield would be 50, everyone else is at 30. Reading's at 30 already, Milford's at 30 already. I had another question too. Maybe through the chair to Sean Harity, what other permits would be involved in building a home on raw land, other than just the,
A single-family home?
yeah?
There'd probably be 5 departments reviewing, probably equal that amount of permits, 5 different permits.
Is there an amount that you charge for those permits?
Yeah, everyone has a different amount. Some are bonded amounts based on the bond, some are based on the work proposed, a percentage of that. Some are based on a sliding construction cost fee, and some are based on a unit fee, like with sewer and water.
Like, give me some examples, like the grading fee?
The grading fee, yeah, usually it's the...
Electrical fee?
No,
That's
the
typical.
the grading fee is based on environmental issues as far as an erosion control, then you bond what it would take to set up the erosion control, and then what it would take for you to affect the grading. So you're probably looking, ballpark, $400 for a single-family home. There's no wetland concerns. Then you're looking at zoning. It's based on estimated cost of construction, sliding fee. You're looking at highway, which is a standard bond, usually $1,000, $50 highway fee. You're looking at sewer and water fees that I think now are $17.30 something for a residential unit for sewer and water, if it's a non-assessed line. And then you're looking at your building fees.
So if there wasn't anything crazy going on in a specific lot,
Minimum of 5 different
getting a
permits.
building permit that costs $41.58 plus $28 for a CO, there's additional costs to that too.
You could probably throw another $1,000 on top of that.
1,000 on top of that,
Mm.
okay. And through the chair to Mr. Knoll. When I was in your office, we talked about those, all those prints that were sitting over on the side that nobody ended up coming back to do.
Yep.
What do you think the reason behind that was?
Well, that's what I did cover. What I'm telling you is that some people do not do their homework ahead of time. And what happens is they don't get estimates. They try to do everything themselves instead of hiring somebody who's knowledgeable.
Yeah,
And that's from our experience.
so it's the
So-
cost, do you think, that makes them not
Well,
go ahead with the project?
one of the projects which I mentioned to you was that they went ahead and they had the wetlands flagged, and they had full-blown set of plans, and unfortunately, somebody did not do the correct flagging. They came in with a structure that was going to be 259,000 feet, and we went to the state. We had local meetings on site in the office. Everything to try to get this done, and then they didn't come back. We couldn't figure out what the problem was. When we called them, we found out that the wetlands weren't flagged properly and that they had less usable space than they anticipated. They weren't happy, but in the meantime, we had done the review.
Mhm.
Now, they're back in, and now they're down to 179,000 feet. And they're working on it, but in the office, there were quite a few disagreements on their side because they really feel they need a bigger building, and they're trying to figure a way to work it out. But we have already reviewed, and once again, because they withdrew, we have no vehicle where we can recover any of the cost. And Colleen mentioned, I told her, we went to the state up in Middletown for one of the meetings, and she says, you don't get paid to go up there? And says, no, it doesn't work that way. This is part of doing business. The idea here, and a lot of people are not aware of it, when we have a project and there's problems, a lot of times we're trying to seek modifications. The state is the only one that can do the modifications. Many times there's a lot of phone contact. There's days where you have to take the plans and go up there. There's trying to get everybody together. I think when we went up that day, Jim was saying we had, I think, 8 people. Well, the bottom line, it's unfortunate it didn't go forward, but like I said, we have nothing to show for it. So, Dave, if he's looking with the idea that, well, what did you do? Yeah, we can't show it. We spent the time, and we have the people to verify it, just it didn't go forward. But then I mentioned about the smaller jobs, like the B100 is a classic example. The people, either they bought the property or they've lived there for years. We have a primary for the septic, smaller lot, or maybe there's areas that aren't usable in a larger lot. They went ahead, they want to put their addition in one specific area, and then when they do the B100, first, when they find out they have to get a backhoe up there, dig the deep test, and then perform a perk. Some of these people, they cut it that close, and as soon as they find out that they have to pay for that, or the health department won't move forward, they abandon the project. Nobody tells us, it sits on the shelf. Some of them, once they go ahead, they do the B100, and then when they find out they can't use a specific area, they don't go forward. Or if they think that they can adjust the project and do something, once they get that estimate, they may not go forward. There's a lot of things that, we can't put our finger on that happen throughout the year. We can only do the best we can. We review the plan, hoping they're going to pick it up. So that's why we're looking for that 20% that we can hold for the review fee. And if they go forward, that'll apply, and it comes right off the total fee anyway.
Well, and that happens in city departments. I mean, look at sewer and sewer and water. How much money we spend when a neighborhood decides they want sewers, and then we go out and spend $50,000 doing engineering reports.
I've seen that over the years so many times,
Yeah,
even when the same.
And we don't
group-
recoup that
Yeah.
also. And there's other things about, like you said, with building a house. Where you spend, I personally spent $8,000 to get architectural plans and decide I can't do this because, it was too high, and that's it. I lose $8,000. That happens.
I'll tell you something nobody thinks of, but I mean, you can suggest it, but people will buy a lot. They bought the lot and they didn't do any testing on the lot. They want a basement. Now they find out one or two things. It's all ledge. And they want to pay, you know where that goes. Or they hit water.
Yep.
And, you know, we can only, you know, go by what you're submitting, figuring that you've done your homework.
It's the property owner's responsibility, not the taxpayers.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
let me just get Donnie first and then I'll go with you. Donnie?
Just a couple of general things. I like the idea of this table. I equated it in the last meeting to how the DMV does sales tax on a vehicle now. We used to go in and say, I bought a car for $100 and you pay $6 on the car. Now they have a table, and if you don't agree with that table, if you have a valid reason that the vehicle's not worth what it says, you have to prove that and you'll get a refund. I did that on a vehicle I bought. So I like the idea of a table. I think, I know over the years, I'm an amateur builder. I've learned a lot from Leo, the building department. They've helped me a lot. I know they have a lot of information. It might not be a bad idea, because so many people are doing small projects, doing things themselves, to develop a sheet that would give somebody who walks in the office a ballpark idea of what those fees are going to be, of what's required. So when they walk in the door and they want to start, hey, you hand them a list so they don't get a surprise, you know, and just give an estimate, what a deep hole costs, what a perk test costs, what's involved, what's a grading permit cost, and not a firm estimate, but just a ballpark, so
Right.
they know what it's going to cost. Because, you know, when I first started, I had no idea, I had no clue. So that's the second thing. I very much agree with the upfront 20% fee. I know we've talked about at council meetings doing that same thing. If, you know, if a neighborhood wants a review for septic or water, you pay for it. We don't do it for free. I like that. After hours fees, I think that's a great idea too. The difference in, you know, the value, as Leo said, between a $10,000 kitchen and a $40,000 kitchen, I think that should get picked up from the assessor's office. That's always been one of my gripes about the way we assess houses in Danbury. When we do a statistical review instead of an actual physical review, that it's, you know, it's unfair to someone who has 30-year-old appliances in the house to be charged the same thing for a kitchen evaluation for somebody who just put in a $50,000 kitchen. And those are basically my comments. I'm very much in favor of, you know, I'm not on the committee, but in the meeting, I would definitely support an increase in fees to cover the cost. And I'd just like to add that I think the building department does a fantastic job with the resources they have, and they've always been, you know, very helpful to me as a novice. Thank you.
Just on the record, I would like, Leo, I want to thank you for everything that you've done in regards to educating us on what's involved and going well above and beyond what I expected as a committee chair. And you really helped me make my decision, or help me at least see why, and explain to anyone else if I have to, if we go through with this or if we don't, what's involved. But all these charts and everything that we asked you to do and you did, I really appreciate that. It's great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point to Corporation Council. The next moves we make here is to send this back to the council as a whole
Yes.
for a recommendation to either approve the fees as recommended and also send it to a public hearing.
Yes, we'll have to go to a public hearing to amend the corresponding ordinances.
So, council to public.
Yes,
Right, okay.
yes, if you're inclined.
But we would have to make a
A
motion today.
You can make a recommendation or a motion this evening if you're so inclined, the committee's so inclined that the council adopts the fees as recommended by the building official in his presentation, you know, or however you
Yeah,
know,
how
whatever
we
your
work.
inclination is. And then the council would go ahead and adopt that recommendation if they were so inclined and send it to a public hearing, because the corresponding ordinances would have to be amended to incorporate the new fees.
But I can't do that until they tell me what they're going to.
Exactly.
I would've had that.
Exactly.
There-
Yeah, and we'll help out, of
Yeah.
course, with that, of course.
There's a couple more issues we haven't got to yet.
So,
we did the residential. What I would like to see on the commercial, I would like to go to $20 or 18 across the board. The other cities, like I said, they're getting 25 and 27. And I was hoping that, everybody would look at that and realize that it's pretty realistic. But I gotta get your input because, I mean, we're looking at the coming year and we have a lot of people that are interested in doing commercial work, but townhouses are going to be big this year, it looks like. We feel that the townhouses will be picked up with the fees that we just talked about. But the commercial, like I said, we're 18. I would just like to, maybe it doesn't sound like much, but it adds up. I think the $20 is realistic. If you don't, I'd like to get your feeling for it. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up were the illegals, and Colleen and Bob we talked about that yesterday. And I made Bob aware that, as I said, we perform quite a few inspections at the request of other departments. And if it's the fire department, or many times they'll go out and they'll see an illegal apartment. So we get the call and we find them in the attic, in the basement. We find bedrooms that are being used as an apartment, a one-room apartment. We had some close to City Hall where we had 8 families and a 2-family. We've had duplexes, one duplex, one side, had 27 people. I'm trying to point out to you that if we have to respond and get them to legalize, I would like to get twice the cost of a normal permit to handle an illegal. And I wanted to get everybody's feeling because I know it's new to you, but many times when I say this, I have addresses in Danbury that when I get the complaint, I can send somebody out there and I can tell them right where to go and what they're going to find. We will abate, we will get them to remove an illegal apartment, and you go back 6 months later, they take it out, but 6 months later it's right back in there again. And it's been explained to me many times. If they're getting $800 or $1,000 a month, and we're talking single-family neighborhoods. I don't know if anybody remembers Abbott Avenue. There was, we had 5 families in a single-family neighborhood. So, I mean, a lot of times there's, if they're going to legalize, and there's a lot of work that was done, and it means removing utilities, removing sheetrock. When I say this, you have to see some of the things that we're seeing out there. Garages, they have 2 studio apartments in the garage. Basements.
Extension cord.
Yeah, basements where we have families living in them, there's no egress windows. There's so many things that happen in a year. We would just like a vehicle with the idea that, and you do it at discretion of the building department, but the bottom line here is there's got to be a reason for them to turn around. Otherwise, we just keep going out and we give them so much time till we get the next complaint and we go out there again and like I said, it's a terrible waste of time. So I would like everybody to think about that. And to tell you the truth, I kind of thought we would end up going to another ad hoc. I wanted everybody, there's a lot for you to, adjust. I'd like you to think about it and get an idea of why we're asking you for this, because like I said, a lot of time is expended. The fire department goes out there, sees the problem, calls us. The zoning officer goes out there, he writes them, and then he asks us to go out there and we write them. That's what the court wants.
Would that be another charge or another separate meeting? Not.
If you want to do it separately, we can.
No, but I mean not. The charge of this is the building permits and fees.
That's a fee.
It's a fee, that's why I brought it up.
Fee.
Okay, so
That could be
but we
part.
could take that on
Yes.
as a continuation of this ad
It's all
hoc
part of
meeting.
this.
We don't have to say, okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But through the chair, the way I understand that, for the illegal building or apartment, so if you go out to a residential neighborhood and you find that they built a storage shed that's as big as a house in the backyard, you would fine them double based on the charts that we establish.
They have two choices.
Either tear it down,
You got it.
or they would
Or
have,
charge.
but their charge would be not $22 for the first 1,000, it'd be $44 for the first 1,000. And not $11 for $12, or $22, that'd be double.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, if you think about this for a minute, and boy, so many neighborhoods are impacted with this. When you mentioned the shed, we have sheds you can put 2 cars in. And what I'm gonna tell you is they're built over the top of the septic system. They're built too close to the property line, they'll never get a variance. We go out there and we see families living in sheds, we had that right behind the hospital. The only reason we found out about it is because they didn't have a bathroom in it, so the neighbors complained and we went up, sure enough. So what we're looking is 1 or 2 things have to happen. We go up there, you either remove it, no charge, or if you're going to legalize it, because there's a lot that goes into it, then that's when we would want the fee. I'll tell you another one too. How many people, you start with a deck, the deck is 10 by 10, we'll say. My God, I go out there and it's 56 feet long and it's grown, it's 20 feet wide. You can't believe some of the things that happen, and unfortunately, people feel if they're paying taxes on it, that it's legal. Doesn't work that way. And just for a point to be made, in this particular case, the building department, building code, there is no sunset on illegal work. It's not the 6-year statute, it's not, well, grandfathered. If you did it and you didn't have a permit, all the people that tried to sell their house were inundated. Everybody is demanding that we go right out there because they have a closing today or 3 days from now. So now you go out there, you look at it, try to figure out what you can work out. If it's something that you can get a fast permit and it's something that doesn't require a lot of work, that's one thing. But a lot of them, when we got them to remove sheetrock, we find that there's illegal connections and the back of the sheetrock's got a burn pattern. I'm trying to point out why we're looking for a fee. We have plenty of pictures downstairs.
Maybe we should just make a motion to continue this.
I mean, I agree, I have no issue with, I mean, I can make a motion to recommend right now, if you want to continue it out.
I'd rather not. I'd rather, get the motion on the floor.
Because it has to go to a public hearing.
Correct.
Right.
So,
And then,
so at least we can hear it, we can vent it with the public, if there's a big outcry.
Right.
It can come back. and
come
we
back
can-
after that, I agree, yeah, that's.
He has some stuff that's, he doesn't even have in writing though. I mean,
That's
What are you
why
gonna be
we're
voting on?
asking for direction.
you
because
want to
we-
continue it, and he wants to make a motion, you don't even have anything to make a motion on. He has
We're talking about the fees.
Right.
Yeah. But we do have
But he
that.
talked about other things too that he wants to do.
No, that's all related to the fees, that's all related issues, isn't it?
I thought it was, I mean, we just explained it, I didn't know whether there was anything beyond that. We're talking about the illegals, we're talking about the fee structure, what else is there to talk about?
We did commercial, residential, and then
Illegal.
The illegals,
If I may,
the illegal
Is there
department.
another something else?
There's a-
and I apologize because I wasn't here for the first one. Leo, did you discuss when you are called out by the banks to do, at their request for the inspections, instead of closing?
We did not go ahead and get into a hourly fee because what's happening now, there's quite a few foreclosures and short sales that the banks and the lending institutions are trying to sell. So what's happening now, they're calling us to go out and tell them what's illegal, what can get a permit and what can't, and what do they need to do to make it legal to sell. Unfortunately, many times, we get the other end of the spectrum. Somebody bought it, didn't check anything, and now we get called into court or arbitrations, and then we have to explain, we bring our records and show that the garage was done illegally, the basement was done illegally. There's a lot to this. So what we were talking about, we have a lot of lending institutions are asking for us to treat it like an inspection and go out there and go through the whole building and explain to them what has to happen in order to make it legal.
But who will pay you for those
Yeah.
fees?
The bank.
The bank.
They are
Well,
covering
then,
it.
as long as we're getting paid,
Are
And
you,
that's,
yeah.
and what are those fees?
You are getting paid for that.
Yeah.
Are those fees listed?
no, because David has given us an overtime fee. And he's broken everything down according to insurance, the actual hourly rate, any expense that would be involved, workman's comp. What we're trying to do is get an idea how you want to treat it, because we're performing a service. Do we want to make something on the service, or do we just want to go out there for the hourly rate? It goes in the general fund. What would you like to do? I don't have that answer. So I'm bringing it to you to give me an idea how you would like to handle it.
If I may,
Yeah?
we're not a profit-making business, we're in the cost recovery. And it's, you know, you're providing it, and their off hours are on Fridays when it's not a typical work day. You fit that in, you know, if there's an emergency, you're treating it like you're, you know, over at the mall. That's, you know, as we discussed before. You know, it's their request for your service. And you're gonna charge them a rate that's, you know, to recover the costs. You know, we're not gonna load it up like if it was a private business, you know, trying to get a profit margin of X dollars on it, or X percent. Not gonna do that.
Chair, but all these increase in fees, this brings us closer to recovering our costs. Regardless of what we do, these fees are not going to be 100% of our costs. And probably not even 50% of our costs.
No.
So it just brings us closer to recovering to what we had before.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, it would be tough to digest if you try to get 100% recovery. You know, I think everybody would, and myself included, would just, your jaws would drop. And, you know, if you try to do it in the first bite, you know, over time, and, you know, you try to, you modify how we're doing things. And I think, as I mentioned before, we're looking at how we're doing things, and we're adapting to the changing economic environment. And, you know, we have to change the way we're doing things. And, you know, some of these things that we used to give away we can no longer afford to do so, because we want to make sure that we're still able to provide quality core services to the taxpayers. You know, so those people who are able to pay for those additional requested services, they should pay an added amount. They're willing to pay, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be willing to charge.
Well, my whole, when I started this originally out, I want to make sure that the small business guy is not hurt by this, nor is the consumer hurt. When I see the figures and where we are based on other towns, localities, but also what the services that we are providing, I think something does have to be changed, definitely has to be changed. And I know we're not in the business, we're not here to be a profitable agency, and we're not. I mean, we're a city, and that's why we have taxes and things like that. But I just, I also wanted to make sure that this is not going to impact a person or a company or anyone else from, say, moving their business here. And I just, when I try to digest this, there's no way that I think this would deter anyone, be it a resident or a business or commercial exposure coming to Danbury. We have far too much to offer, which you mentioned, in infrastructure and services we do provide, as opposed to some of these other towns. So that I wanted to clear in my mind, that this is not going to hurt us, and I don't think it will. If anything, I see the fact that we are able to provide services beyond our normal scope of business hours. And if people are willing, and you know they're willing to pay for that, then they're sure as heck going to be willing to pay for our building increases in permit fees. And I think it's, and as far as the builders themselves, if they see a problem, which they do anyway, if they see a problem with the cost, they incorporate it into the cost to do business. I mean, so it's passed on to the consumer anyway, and it's taken off the taxpayer's back. So that's how I.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add on to that, it may affect the businesses and the residents if the quality of services starts to deteriorate because we're unable to continue that level, or we have to cut back because we're giving away those services, and we're not, getting the cost recovery that we need. So on the other side, as you mentioned, you gotta try to get back whatever you can. We provide the core services, Leo's group and many other groups, they go out in the middle of the night, in emergencies on those areas that you can't charge and you should not charge. But in those, additional services that, for the contractor that comes in, or, those others that are simply just gonna pass it on to the cost of the project, well, yeah.
I just want to be fair, and on the record, I want to be fair to both sides, but fair is very important to me, and I want to be able to explain this whatever I decide my decision, like everyone on the committee, to be able to explain why we did what we did. So.
Anything else, Leo, you need to?
No, I'm hoping that what you'll do, table this, and so I can go ahead and everything that we've discussed and you've agreed to, I can go ahead and put it in the proper format. And then, hopefully you can look at it at the next meeting and say, that I'm in agreement. And if you're not, then I'll change it again. But I'm hoping that it's kind of hard to guess what everybody is going to feel comfortable with. But it won't take me long to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that, that's fine. I mean.
Through the chair, then, if that's going to be the case, just a couple things, just to make sure that they're included, and I'm sure they will be, but one is the adoption of the square footage table that we talked about, 20% review fee up front.
Yep.
The after-hour review fee, the breakdown for both commercial and residential, and was there anything? Oh,
Penalty.
And double.
the penalty.
The double pay
Yeah.
for
Double penalty.
illegal.
Or not pulling a permit.
Was there anything else?
David, we covered everything.
I think so.
That's a lot to make.
We're going to make a
Pretty
motion that
much
we
have-
continue the
Especially what I have.
subject to the report back from the building.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So be it.
Thank you
Motion
very
to
much.
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, young man.